writing. I need to do more. A little bit that I've been doing is enough, but it's been good. Been progress, so can't complain. So I was hoping to finish some stuff yesterday. After work, my mind was just a slog. But yeah, this update's kind of focused on shelter. Because like I've told you guys, that's what I've been doing. Is focusing on that. And I don't know, it's weird. It's like I haven't had much work this month. It hasn't been completely dead necessarily, but it's been slow enough for me to notice. So, and I don't know if that's because I've been a little bit pickier with the jobs that I'm accepting or what, but I'm picky with my jobs for a reason, because some jobs you just don't want to be a part of. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So the writing shelter is very bittersweet because, like, on one hand, I'm so proud of the progress I've made. Yeah, I'm just shooting the shit on the way to work. Yeah, I'm really proud of the progress I've made. But at the same time, it's like, you're your own worst critic, harshest critic. So I keep going back and it's like, but I keep trying to remind myself that I just need to get the rough draft finished, because then once I have the rough draft finished, I can arrange for it to be professionally edited. When it's professionally edited, that's when the real magic happens. I could just say fuck it and throw it up as is. That's not going to be any fun. That's not going to be any good for anybody. So I'm thinking of what I'm going to do is, once the rough draft is finished, I'm going to launch an Indiegogo for the rest of the book. Now remember, since it's self-publishing and it's directed towards Kindle, I'm not worried about any paperback or anything like that. So, which means I don't really need to raise a crazy amount of money. I just need to raise like $500 or $600 just to cover the cost of having it edited. Because you want to do several revisions. You want to do several rounds of editing. Each round takes anywhere from a couple weeks to a month or two. So, but obviously I wouldn't launch a campaign for the book unless at least the book itself is finished. That way, hey, if you donate now, you can get a rough draft copy of it. So you can literally own parts of it as it evolves. So, which I think is pretty cool. It's like early access. Early access, but it's actually like not in alpha, it's in beta. Like now it's not even in alpha because of how stringed along everything is. Half the story's written word, the other half is fucking notes on a napkin. Well, these last few days I've been focusing on Drew. Because with Drew is one of the ones I didn't really write a whole bunch on. Like I did write about him and his story progression, this, that, and the other. But as far as writing out his individual chapters, they were very sparse. They were paragraphs at best, or most. So I've kind of gone in and actually flushed out, connected the dots and shit. So, and the evolution's interesting because once you start stringing shit together, it kind of ties in so much better, and you come up with new ideas, better ways to explain shit. And there's also another thing that I've done. Oh, so the way that I did it with Shelter, the characters were kind of last. I had the idea of the world. Like, what's the state of the world? What's the state of the apocalypse? Like, what is the environment in which these people are going to be surviving it and living it and adapting to it? So when it came to starting things off, I had this idea of that, the environment. And then it's like, all right, so what is the story going to be, basically? So that's when I came up with the plot. I was like, all right, well, this, and this will happen, and it will end up connecting these dots along the way. And certain revelations will be made. Not entirely, though. I initially, it was the beginning, the middle, and the end. The big plot points, like kind of setting where the characters are going to be at. The events that kind of kick off, that kind of push the characters in one direction or another. And then the end, of course, everything somewhat tied together. Shelter's written in such a way to where it is standalone, but there's wiggle room, questions unanswered, if it's successful enough to warrant a sequel. And then the characters kind of came in, last. How the characters were developed and the stuff they were going through. Because, all right, what characters can fit into this world, and how can I design these characters to where their self-motivations to do what they do fits into the plot appropriately. And, I'm not going to lie, they're both relatively difficult, because, as far as the world was concerned, it was all about adapting to the new world order, as it were, like the new status quo and how everything was. So I definitely wanted the main character, Scott, I wanted the perspective of Scott to be essentially a bad guy from our perspective. When you look at life, and I'm looking at an airplane flying, and I'm looking at cars on the road, and people going and get gas and buying shit and this, that, and the other. The world as I'm looking at it doesn't exist in this book, So how does someone adapt to a world where the norm as we know it isn't the norm? And it's quite literally all about survival. So from our perspective, Scott doing what he does is kind of shitty. But from Scott's perspective, it's the new normal, You got to take care of yourself. And then Andrew, he's from the perspective, he's a kid. He just turned 17. He's been sheltered in this fucking mansion in this fucking big-ass gated community since the start of the apocalypse. His family's been taken care of. His mother has ties. His mother's a senator, so she has government ties, and there's this whole weird conspiracy that goes on there where, they're constantly getting shipments of food and supplies, this, that, and the other. So they're well taken care of. So exactly as the title says, Shelter, that's Andrew. Andrew is the one that the title is mostly about. Is you have someone that's lived in this world, someone that's adapted to how new things are. And just opposed to him is this kid who's a lot younger, has no life experience, and the world that he knows, the world that he knew before wasn't the status quo. This is someone extremely affluent, whose parents were very wealthy, whose parents were very connected. So him growing up, he never wanted. There's a scene that I wrote where he's getting up to go down for breakfast or whatever, and he's putting his shoes on. And it's a pair of Jordans. And he talks about how before everything went to shit, he owns countless Jordans, but now he only owns 2 pairs. Because that's all he could bring with him when him and his family went to Michigan. So all of his other shoes are back home, and he's kind of a sneakerhead. And all of his shoes are gone. He doesn't have them anymore because they're off wherever he lived before. And all he has now are these 2 pairs of Jordans, and he would have never in his life once wore them. You put them on, and you take them to certain special events or whatever, but you don't want to risk them getting scuffed. Now he doesn't care. He wears them all the time. And on one hand, it's like, well, those are his only 2 pairs of shoes. But as he points out, it's like he's kind of lost everything. Like, even though he's still very well off in the apocalypse, his life is different than what it used to be. So to him, it's this great tragedy. So the fact that he could wear these shoes, it's a sense of ownership. Like, he has some level of control. I'm sorry if I'm missing the chat. I'm driving. But so going back to Scott. Yeah, Scott, he's adapting. So you're not supposed to like Scott because we're used to what is normal for us. And the big thing about Scott, the big character development thing for him, is kind of caring about other people. It seems like he's selfish and self-centered, which to a degree he is. But then as it's like, oh, it kind of makes sense why this character is the way that he is after all the shit that he's been through. And at the end of the book, he takes Andrew under his wing. When he first meets Andrew, he doesn't give a shit about him. That's a very interesting circumstance of the character that the characters then find themselves in. Ooh, what a doozy! What a pickle! How are they going to get this one? Scott learns that, it is the apocalypse, but, he doesn't have to lose his sense of humanity, which there's hints of, because obviously if you've heard, I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, Scott has his code, as it were, and his code is no women, no children, no cripples, and way to do unjust harm to anybody, that can't defend themselves. There's a cop right here. I'm going to be quiet for a second. Anyway, I don't know why I always get sketched out by police officers. Anyway, yeah, so it's been a row. So one of the things I've been doing, I can't remember the name of the program, but essentially it's a Google Map editor, and you can write notes and stuff like that. So I still need to do Grand Rapids area of Michigan, but for the most part, I've gotten a lot of progress done on that map of the Chicago area, and that's kind of showing you where key locations are, where certain events take place, and it gives you a roadmap for how things are. So one of the biggest things in the book that I'm kind of most proud of, and you don't see this in media a whole lot, but in a lot of apocalyptic stories, we see cars littering the streets and shit like that. The way that it is in Shelter, there aren't cars littering the streets. I mean, in some problem areas there are. This bitch just honked at me. I was trying to make sure that I could. Blind turn on the left, so I wanted to. Anyway, so let me stop here. I don't know about y'all. It feels like 5-0 hit the deck. It feels like, I don't know what I was gonna say. Yeah, I gotta go hang a mirror. I was gonna do it yesterday, but I forgot my fucking tape measure, so can't really guesstimate shit like that. So I'm gonna bring a few things in and to get that sorted out. Bring my drill. Well, I gotta bring my bag, my laser level, and my tape measure, and some anchors, which I have in here. And then I'm gonna put that bad boy up. Anyway, I'm thinking of what I'm doing today is leaving the house, because I'm on call anyway, but, oh shit, I missed my turn, which is not a problem. I got plenty of time. Yeah, so I think I might leave, just kind of get away. The big thing is to get away from the internet connection, because I am very easily distracted. So if I'm not connected to the internet, dude, yo, what's up, dog? Of course, I keep getting further and further behind the stream. Sorry, bro. Do I still do? What are your questions, comments, concerns? Since this is an update / Q&A, I was updating foibles on things pertaining to the book. Which, yeah, I was supposed to upload the finished draft of chapter 3 last night, but by the time I got home, I was done, so I didn't want to fucking do the last minute, like, extra hours worth of shit that I had to do on it, but I'll do that later. Yeah, so TaskRabbit, what are your questions? Of course I still do TaskRabbit. It's been slow lately, but it is what it is. Alright, that's cool. I do it too. Handyman in Chicago. Chi-Town, dude. See, that's what we're talking about. The book that I'm writing takes place in Chicago. Look at that. Handyman in Chicago, man. How's that going? How's TaskRabbit? How's the market out there? Different markets. I want to quit my full-time job to do TaskRabbit. That's what I did. It's one of the things you gotta, like, you just gotta dive, man. You just gotta dive. Yeah, Chicago's a much bigger market than out here. I'm in Vegas. I mean, don't get me wrong, more than enough work, but the downside is Vegas is kind of an island. So you're kind of, you know, because you go so far at the city, there's nothing for hundreds of miles. But you, it's an island in the sense that everything's really tight. So I am really glad about that, because I don't have to go super far out for dumb shit, you know? I know that in other markets, because of how big the area is, I've tasked in Seattle before, in the Seattle area, and that market sucks. I mean, you make a lot more money, but the cost of living's higher, plus you're driving like 20, 30, sometimes 40, 50 miles from one job to the next, because of how spread out everything is, you know? It's like just your travel time alone on top of the gas that you're spending. It's shit, dude. But that, you know, it just depends on the area. Oh, a van, really? Why a van? Just to store more shit in? Probably toss a ladder in the back or something? use it for moving and shit like that. Holy guacamole. Cargo van. Nice. Alright, so I do have a little bit of time. The job's right in there. I'm going to finish off this stream because you guys haven't seen me in a while. So the least I can do is spread some joy. And as far as the connection goes, this is the first time, pretty sure it's the second, one of the two. But this is a new phone. I replaced the other one because it was giving me too many issues. So fortunately I got hooked up with this one. And for the time being, I'm trying to see how it works out. So I don't know what the connection's like on your guys' end, so I apologize. But this is not gonna take very long. I should be here maybe 30 minutes. Oh! Don't know hype. Appreciate that, Foibles. You don't really need to do that, but I appreciate it. I am now $1 closer because of YouTube's cut to to getting my payout. You know, which I'm still making money off of ad revenue for my older videos, but it's a slow trickle because I'm not making as much as I used to. So maybe one of these days I'll film some one-shot TaskRabbit videos and just throw them up. But I appreciate that nonetheless. I was thinking of getting a Patreon going for Shelter, but it's like, what's the fucking point? You know, I've dabbled in Patreon before, but I never really, like, pushed it too hard, because what's the point when I'm not consistently uploading? What's the point when the content that I'm making I'm not even happy with? You know, that's why I figured just wait until the fucking damn book's done and do the Indiegogo. If anyone's interested, then we'll fucking cross that bridge when we get to it. Long-ass ASMR videos. Dude, no, that's not even it. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're right, but the real money is in children. Jesus, that's... Children's programming, education, and all that shit. Educational videos. There's a guy, Blippi. He's like one of the biggest kid YouTube video channel things. The video production for the... What's ASMR? ASMR is like, hi, what's going on? This is Mace Valor, and I just want you guys to, you know, have a good time. We're gonna do some videos, so this is some sounds for you. Oh yeah, you want to hear the sound of my beard? Oh my god, yes. That's ASMR in a nutshell. So dumb. No, but dude, yeah, this guy Blippi, he makes a shitload of money. He has a staff, he has an office, he has a warehouse. Lick my ear, basically. So, but he rushes out every single video. Like, the production quality for what I know he's capable of is extremely minimal. Like, so much so it's embarrassing. Alright. I'm gonna get to this job. But once I'm done in about 30 minutes or so, I'll get back on. So if anyone does have more questions, if anyone wants to shoot the shit a bit more, or anyone wants to fucking... It's been a while, we can play some catch up. I'll be on in roughly 30 minutes, and we'll have a blast, as the kiddos say. So, I'm not cutting it out just this second. In a moment I will, but I'm headed over to the job. So once I park, I will do my farewells, and I'm just rambling at this point. I mean, I will say this, my biggest motivation to finish this book, like, don't get me wrong, my kids and this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, the biggest motivator for me is that I don't want to be, when I go to Target and I look at people that are working the cash register and they're like 50, 60, hell, 70 years old, and they're working the cash register. I don't want that for my life. I don't want that for my kids. When I'm driving down the road and I see people waiting at a bus stop, I don't fucking want that. You know, that's kind of where I'm at. I want more for me. I want more for my children. And yeah, it seems kind of fucked up me being all judgy to people in whatever fucking situation, but you know what? At least I'm fucking honest. I'm happy and I'm grateful, but you know what? I want more. And I know that in order to get more, I have to fucking do something with my life. So